I'll never forget that situation in the examination room. We were led by an elderly professor, and we, meaning 10 young, aspiring medical students, very insecure, but doing everything we can to hide it. And we are gathering around the hospital bed, and in the bed, an older lady. And the professor, without a smile or a question, commands the lady to take her bra off so we can examine her breasts, the breasts of a cancer patient. And her face, pure despair. I guess she has been naked for very few in her long life, and now she, in front of 10 people she has never seen before, is undressing, vulnerable, and surrounded by a white wall she cannot escape. And the only thing I can see is this little woman wearing an all too large hospital shirt. Her curly, silver gray hair oddly pressed from her pillow. Her horror, her shame, her downcast eyes. I'm confused. I alternate between the feeling of deep empathy for this woman and also being shamed of being part of this situation. And my despair, because I think I cannot do anything to stop this scene from happening. So we finished examining her and we speedily flock out of the room, and me last. My lips are frozen shut and my voice are gone. Today, as a trained medical doctor, I know a thing or two about human behavior and needs. For instance, I know that most people, like you and myself as well, we need to belong. Actually, in our core, we are all pack members. And in the herd, we feel safe and secure and confident. But if you do something that contradicts what the herd and the crowd say or do or think, you might stand out as different. And you might also attract negative attention. And being a person facing overwhelming odds, that is not a favorable situation to be in. In new situations, we are often very vulnerable, and as instinct, we avoid these situations and we try to hide, and we feel uncomfortable until we are back in control again. I was in control for years. Like most of you, I was healthy. And then I got sick. Not I got the flu, how is yours kind of sick, but utterly beat down sick. And what I found was a remarkably huge populations of invisible patients with invisible illnesses. And I was shocked to see how little effort had been made to finding answers to these invisible diseases. And also, I was horrified to find how little strong clinical researches had been made on my disease. And then I got lucky. Really, really lucky. By chance, by coincidence, I was able to try a new medical treatment, an experimental treatment, and that made me sound and healthy again. And, of course, the scientists who conducted that trial, they wanted to scale it up. and that is a normal procedure in medical research, and it's a very important one as well. And when scientists need funding, they apply to the official Norwegian Research Council for funding. And so they did. And thousands and millions of sufferers around the world, they held their breath, hoping for answers and a medication that could help them. But the Research Council rejected the application. They concluded that yes, it was a strong and good study, but no, we cannot prioritize it. And for me, it was, we will not prioritize this patient group. And from my insight, both as a medical doctor and also as a recovered patient, I knew it was important that this first study was replicated. So I thought, this is very important for me, both personally and professionally. How can I find solutions? Maybe I can secure the 7 million Norwegian kroner myself. I knew if I did that, if I tried that, I would provoke a lot of people, especially my fellow medical officers. But it was impossible for me to close my eyes. And it was impossible for me to not look back and help my fellow sufferers, because I knew that they were too ill to fight for themselves. So I just had to act and be their voice. So, the same day as the rejection from the Research Council, I published on my blog, well, I'm going to secure this 7 million Norwegian kroner, which at that time was 1.2 million US dollars, and I will secure the trial. Oops, that's a lot of money. And I just spell it out publicly. Great, what a genius. And I thought, well, can I hide somewhere? Grandma, is your cottage available for the next 10 years? And then it came. The fear of failure, fear of being laughed at, fear of being rejected. And so, I did my usual fear check. And that goes like this. Maria, can you die from this? Will it kill you? And of course the answer was no. And okay, Maria, let's go. So I just planned. I spent about 3 months planning and doing the strategy and the communication plan. I made a website because I wanted to crowdfund a clinical trial. I called the campaign Me and You, and internet was the channel. And I set a goal. 7 million Norwegian kroner, 1.2 million US dollars in 90 days to secure 140 patients. And I just started walking, and I was hoping that someone would follow. And the word spread fast. I realized in a very short time I had to respond in English. And during the 90 days, Me and You were supported by thousands of ambassadors and followers from 49 different countries. I was no longer walking alone. We were a crowd, and we were making a movement. We made science sexy. 88 days, 3 million, nearly 3 million. A lot of money, but not enough. But then on day 89, 6 months after the rejection from the Research Council, they publicly announced, yes, we are going to fund the rest of the costs. This trial is going to happen. And yes, we won. And yes, we made it. Thank you. Today, this study is conducted in 4 different hospitals, and 152 patients are participating. The patient group that I'm talking about are the patients with the illness ME, called myalgic encephalopathy. In some countries, it's called CFS, chronic fatigue syndrome, and it is a neurological disease. In 2015, the well-renowned Institute of Medicine, they published a big report. And they concluded that about or between 0.2 and 0.4% of the population are struck by this disease. That means between 800,000 and 2.5 million sufferers only in the States of America. And also they concluded that, yes, the doctors might have heard of the disease, but they lack knowledge. And think it can't happen to you? Well, it can. It strikes all sexes, in all ages, from all socio-economical classes. Actually, we are all patients. If you live long enough, you will need help from the healthcare systems too. And having an illness or being ill does not mean that you are a weak person or a weak human being. It only means that you have a condition that you remedy as best you can. And talking about science, studies in psychological field shows us that it only takes one person changing their behavior and others will follow. And that means it only takes one person to start something positive and change in a slightly new direction. But also, being that first person, changing your behavior will make you feel uncomfortable. I've been uncomfortable many times. Actually, I purposely put myself in those situations so I can learn to overcome them. And I'm very uncomfortable right now. The scientists will not know before 2018 if my experience with the medicine and the recovery from the medicine are due to the medicine or not. What if we are wrong? But what if we are right? Do you remember the incident I told you about earlier with the professor and the older lady when I was a younger student? Yes. I felt nauseous merely of thinking of protesting in that situation. Fresh students don't, right? My legs were shaking and my voice trembles, but I call out for the professor, and he's half a meter taller than me, and also surrounded by white coats, of course. And I tell him how I experienced this situation, and I also tell him how I think it was wrong. And I suggested another way of doing it next time. And he nods, and he says, yes, we can try that. And everybody in the room just felt relieved. Dear all, we are living in a time of change. We listen and we learn. And when we get new insights, we just have to share it. But not only share it, we have to act upon it. Maybe we can change the wrongs to the rights. And also, definitely, we can change the systems that no longer serves us. When we find ourselves in a position where we are better off than those around us, we must look back and make the road better for those to follow. If you find yourself in those situations, you might also be the one who moved the society to make it better and stronger and safer. It won't kill you. And it is important, and it's so remarkably rewarding. So don't be afraid to get a new habit. Dare to be uncomfortable and do the right thing in the right way and for the right reasons. Change the spaces you are in. Be an ordinary hero. Thank you.